Welcome back to Tyranny Podcast. My name's Trent Ortner.
My name's Lego Operator.
I'm Idaho Joe Evans.
We have pretty crazy shit we're going to go through tonight. I mean, today has been a just whirlwind of infringements and possible just tyranny going forward. Biden issued a mandatory vaccine mandate for 80 to 100 million Americans. That would be any business with 100 or more employees would be affected by this. And the way he's playing ball is if you don't get vaccinated, you're going to have to get a negative test every week. So you're going to have to be tested for COVID every single week if you choose for the rest of your life. Possibly, I don't know. So, I mean, what do you guys think about all that?
I'd rather quit my job than take a test every week because I took tests all throughout high school and I failed those too.
I'm actually loving this. Reason why is because it's one of those things we all talk about, burn down the state. And literally this is Joe Biden putting gas on the fire to his own state in the process. The amount of insurance coverage required in order to keep every company with more than 100 people employed either on the vaccine and or tested, especially considering some of the more recent developments with regards to the vaccine. These corporations, these 100 plus people corporations are literally going to buckle under the new regulations. And this sets up one of the opportunities that literally is what libertarians have been looking forward to. And that is the idea that small business will finally be able to make a rebound after what they did to us over the last year and a half now.
Right.
We don't have the mandate to maintain the testing. We don't have the mandate in order to do the vaccine. We literally just, if we're under 100 people, we literally keep showing up to work just like we always did before.
And the crazy thing to me is they're going to tell these companies to force their employees to follow these guidelines. And another thing we got to look at is the amount of people in those companies. Well, they already don't have the vaccine. Do we really think they're all just going to comply? I mean, if they haven't done it yet, they've had plenty of time to get the vaccine. Why would they? I mean, yes, is their job really going to be on the line, and they're going to lose that many people from the workforce? That adds another variable to buckling.
Well, here's one of the other things. Are you going to be paying your employees to actually get the vaccine? Are you going to be paying them, in order to get the testing done, in order to maintain that? How are you going to document it? What sort of arrangements have you made with their physician? Are you going to have an on-site physician who's administering the testing? If you got more than 100 people, you're doing 100 labs a week, every 2 weeks, and that's minimum. You might as well set up a lab on site.
Think of the insurance debacle too. If you have 20 or 30 people have bad reactions to, because there have been documented bad reactions, like they do exist. And that large of a sample size, there's got to be some that are going to happen. And then the companies are going to be holding the ball on that one, trying to pay these people insurance or getting sued because were forced to do this.
Right. Because right now,
a minute ago.
What's that?
I just had a brilliant thought back to what you said a minute ago. On-site people administering tests.
Go with it. Man.
You're literally paying a staff nose picker every single week.
Yeah.
I think the only benefit that we'll have out of that is that we will always have clean nostrils while we're working. I don't know why that thought went through my brain, but it did. I'm sorry to interrupt.
I mean, it's on par. I mean,
to think about it, literally, we have finally found the least difficult job there is to have in America for an essential worker. Literally the guy who has to stick the swab up your nose every 2 weeks just to test,
just like those people that hang out at the entrance, like when you go to the VA, have you had this? Have you had this? Have you had this? Okay, you're good.
Oh, it's that time of the month again. Hey, can you do me a favor? Can you stick some Vicks Vapor Rub on the end of that? I got a cold this week.
We're gonna be like, oh no, COVID! Oh my God, he's coughing.
He's coughing. No. I don't have COVID. I'm just a very bad smoker, and I can't do that indoors. That's why I got this thing.
So one of the jokes that came out early in the COVID thing, you know, and this was a friend who was relating it to me, but he had gone into Home Depot of all places, and he was there shopping, and he was going down one aisle, and all of a sudden one of the employees just starts to cough up a friggin' lung, you know, and there's an elderly woman there looking at, you know, this person going, oh my God,
I'm gonna die.
And the employee turns, no, it's not COVID. I got lung cancer. It's like, and the visible relief in the person's, oh, thank God.
Thank God it's lung cancer.
Yeah, but that's where we were at things. You know, literally, we were thanking God that somebody had lung cancer because they weren't coughing because of COVID.
Yeah, and that is where our culture is lying right now on a mass level. It's sad.
It is. It's literally extremely sad that we are at that point. You know, we have people on Twitter. We have people talking, you know, I'm going to hold you down, you know, for the people who are going to stick you with the vaccine. And it's like, you have no idea.
People saying, get the police involved. Yeah, go to their house. You know, and just like, oh, I can't tell you how many times I've seen that on Twitter.
Well, the irony with that is they don't understand that they're literally setting themselves up, you know, to be the ones that are put on boxcars. Because at this point, you know, literally we have the vaccinated have been identified as carriers for most of the new variants.
Right. Yep.
You know, they aren't going to the hospital because their immune system is still working the way it's supposed to.
Right. Right.
So they're not getting sick enough to go to the hospital.
But they're passing it on to people.
Yeah, they are literally carrying it. So every time they interact with a non-vaccinated person, they run the risk of killing the unvaccinated. Yeah, and that's literally, we are at the point right now where it's like, I'm sorry, you've been vaccinated. I'm going to have to ask you to step 10 feet back.
Right. Right.
You know, because if I catch what you got, I will end up in the hospital. I will be intubated. You are still safe because your vaccine protected you.
And the amount of times that type of situation is going to happen or has happened already is just, it's innumerable. Like I know people that would, before all this happened, would have no problem hanging out with anybody, and then as soon as soon as they found out that you weren't vaccinated, they were like, nah, man, you know, we can't be friends. And it's just like, you know, the divide that they're creating between people, it's just unreal.
Well, one of the things you can look at that is literally, if that's going to terminate your friendship, were they ever really your friend in the first place?
That's a very solid point. Very solid point.
You know, my family right now, we're mixed. About half of us are vaccinated, half of us aren't. You know, and the ones who got vaccinated, very good reasons for it. A lot of background. I'll admit that one of the reasons I haven't gotten vaccinated yet is for personal reasons. You know, it's that trauma reaction. And it's looking at the fact that I was part of a cohort that was stabbed with anthrax, you know, 15 times in the last 20 years. Right. You know, and it's like, I you know, I know what it's like to be hit with a non-FDA approved vaccine, you know, and do I really want to go through that again with an early stage process that's in emergency deployments?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, man. Like,
you know, it's not that I disapprove of the science. It's literally a trauma reaction at this point.
Right.
You know,
that's a very valid feeling to have.
I got no scientific reason for not doing it. It's literally just, dude, no. Yeah, I don't have to justify it to you. Literally, this is a fear-based trauma reaction. Screw that. I'm out.
And that right there is the focal point that we need to focus on. Is I do not have to justify to you why I don't want to get a vaccine. I do not need to provide information to you that I have this set. I do not need to walk around with a card and say, hey, look at me, I'm safe, when I'm not. And then in retrospect, like you're talking about the Delta variant mutating from people that have gotten vaccinated, it's not even relevant. It's not even true. So, I mean, at what point do we realize that we just need to get herd immunity? That's the biggest problem that I've had with all this is people not allowing it to go through its natural process and get herd immunity.
Now, there's two different ways for the herd immunity to work. One is we can go through the normal vaccine process, not this mRNA stuff that's been put out, but the regular vaccine process. We can do a regular vaccine, like we did every year with a flu vaccine. I mean, every year, go in, get your flu shot, take your little nasal spray for your flu shot. We were largely good with that. I admit I haven't had the flu vaccine since I got out.
Yeah,
but a lot of people, that is one of the ways that helps their immune system, and they get the flu vaccine. They get their annual shot with whatever random assortment, it's designed to boost against. And then the rest of the people just get sick.
Right.
And they're natural immune. So it takes both of them.
Yeah.
Because you're never going to get 100% vaccination, and you're never going to get 100% everybody gets sick.
Right.
But sooner or later, you get enough of the combination to where the disease just stops moving.
It stops being as dangerous. And, like that's the argument right there, too, that I hear, people talking about, well, the flu vaccine, everybody got the flu vaccine. Everybody got, the smallpox vaccine. They were vaccines. They weren't this mRNA experiment that they're working with. The science may be there, but it's not there yet. We aren't there with the science. Like we are becoming test dummies for this this mRNA experience.
Oh yeah. And it's not turning out the way everybody was expecting it to. And literally, we stopped taking data at one point because we were so confident in the way the science was supposed to work. We thought the theory was solid. The theory said this is going to happen. So literally, that's what we planned on happening. And now here we are 6 months, later into this whole process. It's like, folks, it's not behaving like we said it was going to work. So we're going to need you guys to adapt. Maybe I'm not sure, but yeah. That's literally where we're at. They're trying to walk back something without admitting that they botched the science by being too sure of exactly how it was going to play out.
That's a common thing.
Yeah. Go ahead, Lego.
I said that's a very common thing that happens. They evaluate something and they over-evaluate it, get a bunch of people involved in it, and then when it inevitably flops over because they evaluated it to death, everybody gets involved in it.
So here's one of the problems with academia these days, and this goes clear back to Pythagoras and the rest of them. Remember that debate about if you were to take a heavy weight and go up to the top mast of a ship that was in motion, and you were to drop the weight, where would it fall? Would it fall at the bottom of the mast, or would it fall off the back end of the ship?
Right.
Because the ship was moving underneath it. Okay, now they literally talked themselves into believing that weight would fall off the back end of the ship because the ship was moving.
Right.
They completely spaced the idea that the weight itself was carrying the momentum, was carrying the velocity at the time it dropped. So it was moving at the same speed of the ship.
Right.
At the same time it dropped. So it would drop what looked like straight down.
Right.
They literally talked themselves out of something that if they'd asked a sailor would have gone,
it's just going to go straight down.
It falls straight down. We do that I drop stuff down all the time to the guys.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, matter of fact, I do the dagger drop. You know, I'm dropping things on top of people as they walk underneath. You know, stupid games that sailors play, right? You know, but I think that's one of those things. They literally talked themselves into believing something with absolutely zero scientific basis for the theory.
Right.
And they were so sure that they were right on the theory that they forgot key performance indicators that they needed to measure after the application to make sure it was indeed working the way they thought it was supposed to work. And here we are.
And so, you know, and yeah, and that's exactly what's going. You know, we have this vaccine that was rushed through. They were trying to find a cure. They were going to find a cure. Find a way to and it became a political issue instead of a scientific issue. It became an issue of policy and who was doing what and where. Going back to this mandate. You know, we were talking a little bit about the Jacobson versus Massachusetts in 1905. So the thing that sticks out to me the most about that isn't even the argument for the Second Amendment, is that it was a localized thing. It was localized to that area. Yeah. This is something that they're trying to make a national thing. A thing that encompasses, and governors are pushing back. You know, Greg Abbott's already said that, you know, we're not doing it. You're not going to make us do it. And then Biden's coming back saying, "Oh well, I'll make you do it." You know, it's setting the table. Like it's like setting the table for what we've all been talking about for the last 4 or 5 years of just complete and total breakdown into what's going to become the Great Succession.
Well, the mandate's unsustainable. I mean, and that's one of the things that they just fail to understand, is it is unsustainable. There is no way for them to keep doing the process because, you know, we've already established, you know, 1 jab isn't going to do it. 2 jabs isn't going to do it. You know, they're already looking at a 3rd because of the variants that are coming out that the first vaccine just didn't account for. So are we really going to get an annual booster of an mRNA shot? Or at some point, are we simply going to get sick and tired of receiving the boosters? You know, it is unsustainable. The idea that we could actually mobilize enough U.S. forces in order to guarantee that there was 100% coverage, you know, with the documented exceptions, you know, such as medical necessity or some other thing that, you know, vaccines just don't work for some people. But again, it goes back to the science. Literally, we rushed through a vaccine that, you know, we've been working on the mRNA for, what, 50 years now, you know, trying to get the science for that down. They could have had a COVID vaccine, the normal kind, like the nasal flu spray that we do every year. They could have had that out and to the population in less than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We could have had a regular vaccine in less than 2 weeks because the FDA process for making a vaccine for a new flu variant, you know, is so well established.
Right.
It's streamlined
because they have to adapt it every year. They have to redo to a degree the vaccine to accommodate for the new strain or type of flu virus that's going around. And
so if the CDC was being honest, if they really were trying to avoid the big spike, you know, like we get every year for the flu vaccine, a viable flu vaccine of the school style on deck and distributed within 2 weeks to people, and more than enough people would have been willing. Yeah, that's the normal vaccine. Let's, you know,
and then
everybody would have been
herd immunity.
You know, you would have had 80% within the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, but no.
We're a science experiment. You know, that's just that there is no other way to look at it, because they are measuring how this is working in certain individuals in certain target areas and age groups and health wise, like, you know, how healthy you are, if you have any kind of
don't forget the environmental variables. You know,
Right.
Are we looking at higher distribution rates among high humidity, high heat,
Right.
cold, dry heat? You know, how long can the virus stay alive in a humid environment? You know, are we seeing a bigger spike in the winter? Are we seeing a bigger spike in the summer? I mean, we're literally watching a seasonal, you know,
oh yeah,
spike. It comes and it goes. And, you know, sometimes it's like, oh, we gave everybody the vaccine and everybody's better until 3 months later. And now everybody's got it again.
My theory is with the vaccines, I like it, and it's. I mean, I don't know if this is really even a theory or not. I don't know if this has been talked about, but the vaccines mutated the antibodies that you had in you already, like you were talking about, and made you a carrier for the new variant.
And that's one of those things. I'm not 100% sure on that. You know, I recognize that the way the mRNA vaccine was supposed to work was it trained your body to attack the virus specifically and actually dismember it, to disassemble it if it identified key features of it.
Right.
And now the mutations of a virus are going to happen regardless, you know, with or without, you know, the vaccines being part of the process. But again, that's one of those things. Do we really know? Because now we're actually dealing with contamination. We have injected the test into our environment, and we have allowed the control group and the test group to intermingle. You know, there's no dividing line. There's no, this petri dish is the test and this one is the control. No, it's we're doing this thing with, you know, and it literally it's a mess. We no longer have a control group. You know, we cross contaminated.
Right.
We literally cross contaminated the two groups.
Right.
I mean, I don't know whether or not that's good or bad, but right now it honestly looks like it was the worst possible combination of cross contamination we could have accomplished. You know?
And so we're dealing with all of this when in regards to how are we going to view the vaccine, you know, and we still have 100 million plus Americans that are looking at these types of scenarios and wondering, like, do I want this? And now the president is saying that he's going to force them. Like, you know, how many times do you hear the left-wing liberals scream, "My body, my choice, my body, my choice"? But when it comes to the vaccine, oh no, that's different. That's different.
I actually had this debate on Twitter today with one of my friends. Yeah, or at least
So did I.
it was a friend. But the thing is it's like literally at this point, it was my body, my choice. At least be consistent across all things. And of course, he came back with, "Your right to freedom ends, you know, at the start of my nose." You know, how does that work? You know, at least be consistent. And I'm like, look, dude, at this point, the people who are in the hospitals are the unvaccinated one. And the people who have been vaccinated are literally carriers. So at this point, you are more dangerous to me with me being unvaccinated than I am to you with your vaccine. So right. It's like, are we really going to be consistent? You've had the vaccine. You've secured your safety. At this point, the vaccine guarantees your chance of surviving the contamination, surviving, because your vaccine didn't work the way we were told to 6 months ago.
Right.
You know, you are now carrying something that could kill me.
Right.
So really, who's actually a threat to who at this point?
At what point, and you know, to me, it's at what point do we draw the line for allowing the government to dictate things in our life? I mean, we keep losing inch by inch every day, liberties and freedoms, and now they're not even trying to hide it anymore. They're being flagrant about it. And
oh yeah. Yeah, and they are. It is flagrancy. It is the flagrant violation of human rights. We've reached that point, and it's like, again, one of those issues. Okay, why is this finally the line in the sand that you care about?
Right.
Okay, why now? Why is it finally now that you actually give a damn about state overreach? Is it finally because it affects you personally?
And we were yelling at these people that are like making this line in the sand now for the past how many years to fucking pay attention. You guys aren't listening. This is what's going on. No, not in America. Not in America.
Well, it's one of those things. Okay, Nixon's war on drugs. You know, that was a line in the sand. Okay, but it was one that was okay because Nixon wasn't after white America.
Right. Right.
And he was after the anti-war peaceniks, and he was against, the black community. And
now it isn't segregated. It's complete. It's blended. It's going after the whole thing. The whole.
It's a one size fits all problem.
This is one of these things I love about Ancestry.com and some of these other gene pool monitor things. Okay. It is literally, we all have to admit that one drop, if we go by that one drop doctrine, 90% of America would be wiped off the face of the earth if we were to use that exact same doctrine to line people up against a wall.
Right. Right.
Okay. If your family has been in the United States for longer than 4 generations, okay, you have mixed heritage.
Oh, yeah.
And the irony of it is, me and mine will never be white enough for some people.
Right.
Me and mine also will always be too white for others.
Right.
And that's one of the problems of colonization. But that's one of those lines that we've been working on, for the past 100 years with civil rights movement. All of this is trying to understand that, people are people. Race is a social construct.
Yeah.
And the perpetuation of violence against our brothers and sisters, regardless of our perceptions of that social construct of race, has always been one of those lines that other people have just been, it's not affecting me.
Because it doesn't affect them. Like that's like America is complacent with anything until it affects them directly, and
exactly.
And so you have those people that were mixed race, and they especially you look back at I'm trying to think of what was the court ruling. I can't remember what it is.
Virginia versus Love.
Yes. And yeah. Thank you. And you look at that, like, that person had to decide what part of what side of the field do I stand on, white or black? And you don't give them a choice.
Yeah. And truth is it shouldn't matter, because race is a social our brothers and sisters come in all shapes, all sizes, all heritages.
Agreed.
And the melanin in our skin is literally based on the environment in which we grew up.
It does not determine the character or how good of a person that is, or what they are. Absolutely not. I agree.
Yeah. But I mean, literally, we keep going back to that. We keep going back to where we have created a culture, a system. We have that line drawn for us every day, depending on what our heritage is, what our culture is. And it's like, literally now we've reached a point and it's like, dude, the vaccine is your final line.
This is it. But in a way, I feel vindicated, though, that we're finally at the point to where we're going to collectively, people, on all sides, even the people on the left that are like, I'm not so like they're starting to speak out, and we're separating America into these little sections of who is better on the social score when it comes to compliance. And now people are starting to wake the fuck up and be like, you know what? This is not normal. This is not America. This is not what we need to be doing with our lives. To me, the whole reason I got into this political stuff and activism is because I when my daughter was born, I looked and I was like, and I tried to like think what her life would be like, and seeing the situation and the culture that we're shifting in our country, it terrified me.
Absolutely. You know, that's one of those things. We look at our children. Is this the world I want to leave for my children? You know, am I going to be part of that weak generation that just leaves total trash for my children to go around and try and unscrew? You know, and I have to look back and go, well, my parents' generation didn't do so good. I'm recognizing that, you know, we need to do something. And we've reached desperate points because literally the ultimate me generation, you know, the boomers, you know, have controlled and dominated the scenario for so long that things are so completely broken that, and we have no choice but to go in and clean up what our parents have done.
Right.
You know, they're too old to clean it up themselves, you know, and in a lot of ways, a lot of their beliefs have been perpetuated into the next generation to some degree.
Right.
But we literally need to pick up and start cleaning up the mess that was created by that generation. And the problem is it's a global problem.
Oh yeah, it's become
You know,
that. Yeah, absolutely. Look at Australia. Look at Great Britain. Look at Canada. Look how in France. Look how much that they are reaching that rift, that precipice of breaking apart to, you know, battling the you know, good versus evil, you know, the man, you know, whatever you want to make the bad guy out to be, it's happening, and it's happening globally.
Yeah, it is. And a lot of that is that we're finally recognizing more of a class divide. Okay. And it's one of those things I really hate bringing it up as a libertarian, you know, because class, oh, you're getting into that Marx theory. And it's like, yeah, no, dude. A libertarian, its roots is in class division, you know, and it's the authoritarians always have the control of the majority of the resources.
Right.
So if you're looking at libertarian, what you really want is, to use Marx's own language, is you want a strong petit bourgeois, you know, globally. You want a strong middle class. You want the people who are capable of producing on their own. They're able to create their own tools, they're able to produce, and they're able to contribute to the community.
Right.
You know,
and they've grown that rift that in our country between classes, like you're talking, for really, like we're there's so many people in our country that are focusing on race or what color or what political belief or how much money they have, but in reality, it's the rich against the poor. I mean, they have grown that class to where the rich are farther and farther and farther away than what they used to be, and the lower class is growing, you know, incredibly.
And this is one of the things I love about the Trump supporters, because Trump was one of those individuals.
He's an elite.
He turned the Fed loose. You know, he literally said, print as much money as you want.
Right. Yep.
You know, and next thing you know, poor America is now poorer because their purchasing power is down.
Did you see Biden the other day? I tweeted it. I don't know if you saw it or not, but he was talking about the Department of what was it? He was talking about creating jobs and how they were going to be creating more and more jobs for the people that don't have them. And that we were going to be looking, you know, you're not going to be making $5 or $6 or $7 an hour. You're going to be making $35, $40 an hour. And I was like, what? Like, we've talked about the $15 an hour minimum wage. Why are we all the way over? Is that the projected result of our hyperinflation that we're looking at? I mean, we're $23 trillion in debt. Our GDP is 20.8 trillion dollars. I mean, it doesn't. What are we going to do?
Here's the biggest joke of the entire thing: is we have no real GDP in the United States. Okay, what we have is a velocity of money. What we have is capital. That is, somebody gets their paycheck and then give it to somebody else, who gives it to somebody else, who gives it to somebody else, who gives it to somebody else. We have no GDP. We are not an industrial nation. We do not create jack shit.
Have you seen the research, the crack up boom?
No, I haven't.
It talks about that, and like the main, and it's a Ludwig von Mises. It's a Mises theory, and it deals with the value of money and how you value money, and at some point goods are going to become more valuable than the dollar, and then that's when the dollar is going to become less and less applicable and favorable to be able to use. People are going to be burn them in their stoves to keep warm, like it did in the Soviet Union.
It's called whiskey and bullets, man. It's called whiskey and bullets. That's when the currency will go back to, actually, the dollar is meaningless. So how much for a shot of whiskey? How much for a bullet?
Right.
It's the brass and the gunpowder and the lead and the bullet that means something. It's the production of the high-grade alcohol that means something, because these are things that are valuable to our survival.
Right.
Okay. Right now, we are about 6 months away from the paper dollar being worth less than the toilet paper we use to wipe our ass. We might as well be using our greenbacks to wipe our own ass.
Right.
That's how quickly the value of money is going down the toilet. And it's like Micey said. So one of the things, and this is one of those things that gets really screwy when you start talking about ANCAPs, because it's all about the money exchange. It's all about the capital. It's money. We need somebody to control the money. And it's like, no, we don't, because at the end of the day, it's going to be market anarchy.
Right.
Nobody cares about your money unless the person who's backing your money is solid on something.
And they can use
otherwise they can just print more and counterfeit more.
Right.
It'll be, what can you give me? What service do you want for my good? What good do you want for my service?
Right.
We'll actually literally have to go clear back to the barter method. And although we do got some good ideas out there, there's hour banking, which is one of those things that's out there. A couple different communities, intentional communities across the United States are using it right now.
What is it called again?
It's literally the value of your labor.
What's it called?
Hour banking.
Hour, like HOUR?
Yep.
Okay.
So what it is you log an hour of time doing something you're skilled at on behalf of somebody. And then they validate that hour that you spent working on it, and it goes into one or more different hour banks that exist out there.
Isn't that communistic in basis, though, in a way?
Actually, no, it's not. Reason why is because it's market economy. There's a couple different variations, but yeah, they were looking at labor certificates. It's like, here's your chit for your labor, and once you use that chit to buy something else, the chit goes away.
Okay.
And that way it maintains a consistent balance. But there are some similar concepts, but it literally goes back to market anarchy.
But to me, what is troubling about market anarchy and ANCAPs and that way of a money system is we are getting away from the way that we are doing business now with trade and goods, and how our the amount of goods we produce or that we are able to sell is equal to what our money is worth. What happens when we become that splintered as a society in the United States, where we're no longer a United States of America, but we're multi-geographical conglomerates or businesses or giant that to me that opens us up for invasion. People that are like China is booming, and they're not. That doesn't it gives us that I don't know. It to me it just opens us up. It makes us look weak.
Oh, yeah. And this is an interesting theory, but it's one of those things that we've actually reached the technological advantage where we can overcome that particular weakness of the city-state. Okay, that is the intentional community, the division where we can go in and we can set up our own cultural policies locally based on the region in which, you know, we live and exist. You know, if you want to live in the deserts of southern Arizona, you know, like the Hopis did, you want to live in the Pacific Northwest, like certain other indigenous tribes. If you want to live like the Pashtun live in Afghanistan, you know, all of this is within the possibility. You can set up your own tribal culture. But the thing we got, and as much as I don't like Elon Musk for this, is that network of satellites up there that has created a permanent internet link to every location on the planet.
Yeah.
Okay. We no longer need, like is often explained in computer, communications architecture, we no longer need monolithic mega servers.
Right, right.
Okay, we don't need to do that. We can literally set up distributed architectures, you know, so that we can share the information from each of the different locations, and we can take best of lessons learned from each location, set it up. And at the end of the day, you know, and again, Maslow's, I know an awful lot of people don't like Maslow's hierarchy out there, but there are basically three key things that every community needs to be able to establish for the people that are living in it. They need housing or shelter, they need food to eat, and they need to be able to take care of each other's physical health.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
Now, I'm not saying just give this shit away. Make people work for it.
Yeah.
But once they have a house, once they have a garden, you know, once there's somebody in the community who can trade their healing skills for a chicken and some eggs for breakfast, you know,
it brings back purity to living, where you're not you don't have this false sense of safety anymore. Like you have to work to make sure that your family is safe. You have to be the guardian to your community.
Yeah, and there's several schools. We got a school like that here, Guardian Academy here in Boise. You know, it does an awful lot of that and teaching cooperative skills between, you know, so people can develop mutually supporting skills. Yeah, and this is for K through 12 education.
Okay.
You know, and we're starting to see this happen in some of the charter schools and some of the intentional communities where they're looking at developing skill sets that are mutual, that help develop the community.
Right.
So nobody is solo, but everybody's enough of a generalist that they can continue to support the community if they lose another person in it.
Right.
But at the same time, there's enough people that everybody can develop enough of a specialization so that the community has an efficiency in the way it's run.
Right.
Yeah. And we got schools of thought like that.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
No, we got schools of thought like that where we're actually starting to develop that combination of general skill set as well as specialization, you know, so that the communities are continuing to support each other. And as we develop self-sustaining communities, and that's one of those problems, the self-sustaining interrelationships rather than codependent relationships. We all know what happens with codependent relationships.
Right. Oh my God.
Everything goes to hell in a handbasket. You know, the thing is if we are able to create independent people who are interdependent, who cooperate, you know, that's just the micro of what we're really trying to do as far as creating independent communities that can then mutually support each other. And we have the means of communication. We have the means of getting the skills, you know, and knowledge in order to help create each and every one of these communities become more efficient, become more proficient, and become more self-sustaining and part of the global architecture. And hopefully, you know, cooperative enough that we can actually put people back on the moon. You know, we can start developing low Earth architecture again to support, you know, people who want to go up into space.
Right.
You know, for whatever reason, you know, we can make the stars the frontier again.
Right.
Whereas right now we're literally locked on this box watching millionaires, you know, see whose dick is bigger by who can get the furthest up into space with,
right.
you know, old
instead
school.
Instead of combining efforts and trying to do something together, they want their name on it. They want that's all it is. Like, what? There's no reason why Amazon, Richard Branson, and Elon Musk couldn't work together to do something combined mutually to get some to advance our species. But we're gonna wrap up, and I just wanted to hit on one more thing before we wrap up. Going back to the mandate, many states, there are many states that have already said no to what the president is trying to barter down.
And Idaho's one of those.
Idaho, yep. Our state, Texas, is one. And this comes to it begs the argument. What happens if that line in the sand sticks and the federal government tries to intervene while the state government is like, hell no, fucking bring up the militias, get all the National Guard together. To me, that doesn't seem like a very unrealistic thing to happen at this point. And, to me, it's exciting because I'm sick and tired of this. The way we're going right now is not the way that I want my daughter's future to be.
No. I don't blame you. I got 5 kids of my own. I don't want their future. I want a stable global environment. And if that means micro communities all around the globe in a mutually supporting, architecture, distributed architecture, yes.
Right.
That way they can go around and they can say, this is my aesthetic. I love it here. And they can settle into their, little community and help that community grow and get better. Or they can just like to travel for, the distinct variety of cultures that will develop over the next 20 years as each one of these intentional communities start to self-isolate,
right,
and develop their own art and style and, way of getting things done.
It's going to be interesting. It really is. Like I feel like it's going to be a hard fight for a little bit there, but in the long run, we know. We, as constitutionalists and libertarians and liberty-minded people, know what the end result looks like. We just got to figure out how to get there.
Well, we also need to. We always see 2 forks in the road. Okay, right. We know which way we want to take. Okay, we want to take the path to liberty. Okay, because that's in our nature, humanity. That is free will. That is personal choice and bodily autonomy. We always want to take that path to liberty. And we always run into that problem that there are 2 paths.
Right.
And there are always the people who want to take the authoritarian path.
Right.
It's like, I like living in my little dystopian rat cage.
As long as I'm safe. As long as I'm safe.
As long as I'm safe, give me my dystopian rat cage.
Right.
I'll complain about all of the all of the symptoms of the collapse of society that are the result of my dystopian rat cage, but I'm comfortable in my rat cage.
Right.
But it's like one of the things that we find as libertarians and constitutionalists, and even as social conservatives, okay, is that dystopian rat cage that Athorian takes us down, are all the things we rail against as social conservatives.
Absolutely.
So it's like at some point we need to step back and go, okay, we need to work on a solution that gives everybody a sense of independence. We need to work on a solution that teaches everybody the tools they need to be self-sustaining. That's one of the biggest problems we got with American culture right now is everybody feels that if the world were to collapse, they wouldn't be able to survive.
Right.
They would
start have to have the government to in order to live. Well,
but we don't have. Go ahead.
No, I just cleared my throat.
No, but one of the things we don't have right now. Most people do not have the ability, do not feel comfortable in their ability to maintain their own house. If there's a problem with the plumbing, they don't feel comfortable swapping out a garbage disposal.
Right.
You know, if there's a problem with the electric, they don't want to walk up to the fuse box and flip a switch anymore.
The service industry is never ending in tasks.
Yeah. And I mean, literally, we got people who the only skill they've ever developed is how to make a latte.
Yeah.
Okay. And these people want to tell us how to run a workers' union.
Right. Right.
You know, and it's like, hi, my pronouns are ZZ, and I'm here to talk to you welders today about creating an international workers party. Stop, dude.
Right there.
You know, blue collar workers, they're not into the ZZ stuff, you know, but they are unions.
Right.
They're the original unions because they understood the importance of labor solidarity.
Right. Right.
You know, and literally we got baristas who are trying to radicalize welders, and it's like,
oh my God.
No, it doesn't work that way, folks. Get a trade. You know, you can unionize the restaurant industry, please do. You know, $2.25 an hour plus tips sucks.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a legitimate industry, but at the same time, we have trade schools, we have trade unions all across the United States, and a lot of them are actually coming back. You know, we've seen food industry workers unionize in PepsiCo factories.
Right.
You know, literally the unions have finally gone to their middlemen in their union and said, if you don't give us what we want, we're going to kill you. Because we're a little bit sick and tired of you bending over backwards to screw us, you know, with management and these bogus deals where we're working 60 hours and people are dying on the line in the Cheetos factory.
Right.
You know, we're beginning to recognize that solidarity developing in the trades again, you know, among the workers, among the working class, and recognizing the importance that is. But you're not going to radicalize those people with the ZZ thing.
No, no.
You know, love you, man. Love you. Keep trying. You know, you do you, you be you. But, you know, yeah.
You know, yeah. And I feel like we know what we need to do and how to get there. We just need to get the courage to stand up and do that. To push back. You know, you don't have to push back violently. There are other ways to push back. And if you want to learn how to push back, get a hold of us. You know, we are more than willing to get in touch with you. We're on Twitter at Untyranny Caucus. You can see us our website on www.untyranny.com. And you know, get in touch with us. We have multiple protests coming up. We have we're doing some right to choice abortion stuff, and then we also have a anti-mandate protest for all the colleges in the country that we're working on, that we're organizing. Get in touch with us if you want to learn more. If you want to get involved. You know, getting involved in the community is how we start to make progress in the things that we're talking about. Well, we're gonna close out here tonight on Untyranny Podcast. I'll let Joe go ahead and, you know, finish out what he. You have anything you want to plug or you want to talk about?
Well, most is I'm running again for U.S. Congress again in Idaho's Congressional District 1. And it's one of those things, I really do believe in the ability of generalization, the ability to take care of the majority of your skills you need to require. Do-it-yourself videos on YouTube will teach you so much.
Right.
You know, it'll help create that sense of independence from, you know, and you can take care of the minor things in your life. It'll even teach you how to build a house, man.
You can find
build your own house and make your own garden. Yeah, there you go. One and two, food and housing and food. But learn, educate yourself. you know, so that you feel confident.
Educate your children.
Teach your children too. You know, my youngest son loved YouTube. The amount of things he learned there and was able to teach me in turn, you know, because he had the time to dedicate. You know, I now know far more about dinosaurs than I ever honestly expected to do. But these are things we have. We have the Library of Alexandria, folks.
Right there.
All the knowledge of the generations right here. You want to learn to do something well? All of the lessons learned. And in the meantime, family, friends, community, folks, as long as you got those three, you can make anything happen.
Vote Idaho Joe for Congressional District 1 in Idaho. Give him some support. Hit him up. His Twitter is right there. Go up there and follow, like, share, retweet. You know, get engaged. And I'll let Lego close this out.
You can find Idaho Joe on Twitter at ID Joe for Congress. You can find Trent on Twitter at Trent Ortner, and you can find the caucus on Twitter at Untyranny Caucus. You can find us online at www.untyranny.com. And we have a TikTok channel. We have the YouTube channel. We have a Twitch channel. And I still have to update all of those things on our brand over here, but I can pull those up real quick. We've got pretty much everything that you see on the right-hand side here. Go ahead, give us a visit, give Joe a visit, give Trent a visit. You know, they're the ones, you know, putting the show together.
Thanks, Lego. And thanks
I gotta find a way to
coming out.
Peace.
Go ahead and end it.